I thought he loved me until I heard him whisper to someone that our entire relationship was just a game. Emma Harper had always believed in fairy tales. From childhood, she dreamed of a wedding that felt like magic, the kind where laughter echoed across sunlit gardens and every detail was perfect. And now, finally, it was happening. The flowers were arranged, the catering confirmed, and the venue shimmered with delicate lights that made everything feel surreal. She was about to marry Daniel, the man she had trusted with her heart for 3 years. Everyone thought Emma and Daniel were the perfect couple. His friends called her sweet, witty, and clever. Her friends gushed about his charm and how well he treated her. Emma herself had fallen deeply for Daniel's easy smile, the way he remembered tiny details, the way he could make her laugh even on her worst days. She told herself she was lucky, and in her heart, she truly believed it. But as the final preparations unfolded, Emma noticed subtle changes. Daniel had grown secretive, frequently texting someone in hushed tones, and occasionally laughing softly in the corner of the room. At first, she tried to brush it off. Maybe he was nervous, she thought. Perhaps everyone feels strange just before their wedding. But there was something in the way he avoided her gaze that gnawed at her, a weight in his eyes she didn't understand. One evening, Emma stayed late at the venue to help with the flower arrangements. She was carefully placing roses when she saw Daniel slip into the garden. He was speaking in a low voice, and though she tried to ignore it, one phrase carried through the soft rustle of leaves. I can't believe she actually fell for it. All it took was a bet. She froze, her hands trembling. A bet? What did that mean? Her heart raced as her mind screamed. Could it be true? Was everything she believed in, the laughter, the dates, the love, just a cruel game? She pressed herself against the wall, trying to catch more of the conversation. Daniel laughed, a sound that had once felt like music to her ears, but now sounded hollow and cruel. And everyone thinks she's perfect for me. Little does she know I've already won. Emma's vision blurred, the room spinning around her. A knot of disbelief and hurt tightened in her chest. She wanted to scream, to run, to confront him, but fear and shock rooted her to the spot. How could someone you loved plan such a betrayal? She waited, silent and hidden, as Daniel walked back inside the venue, unaware that she had heard everything. Her mind raced with memories, replaying moments she had cherished. The laughter during late-night drives, the stolen kisses under city lights, the way he had whispered sweet words into her ear. All of it. Was it all a lie? She stepped outside, needing air. The night was calm, the sky dark, dotted with stars that now felt indifferent to her pain. Her phone buzzed, a text from her best friend, Lily. "You okay? He seemed off earlier. Call me." Emma didn't respond. How could she? How could she explain that her entire reality had crumbled in just a few words overheard in the shadows of a perfect garden? As she stood there, the wind brushing against her face, she realized she had a choice. She could pretend she hadn't heard a thing, walk down the aisle and act as if she trusted him completely. Or she could uncover the truth and face the possibility that the man she loved was nothing more than a liar. Her mind was a storm of fear, anger, and disbelief. The countdown to the wedding was hours away, but her heart was already racing toward a confrontation that could change everything. She clenched her fists, whispering to herself, "I will not be played. Not today. Not ever." And then, just as she turned to leave the garden, she heard another voice behind Daniel, someone laughing, and the name Emma whispered like a dagger in her chest.
I realized I didn't truly know him, and the truth waiting in the shadows would shatter everything. Emma's mind was still reeling from what she had overheard in the garden. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and every time she closed her eyes, she saw Daniel smirk, that same smirk he had when he had whispered about the bet. She felt betrayed in a way that cut deeper than she had ever imagined. Her dreams of a perfect wedding had suddenly turned into a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. The morning of the wedding arrived with a calm, golden light that felt almost cruel. Guests started trickling into the venue, unaware of the storm brewing in Emma's heart. Her mother fussed over her dress, talking about bouquets and seating arrangements, and her father kept glancing at Daniel with pride. They had no idea what Emma had discovered. How could she ruin this for everyone? She tried to act normal, but every time Daniel came near, a wave of anger and hurt surged through her. She remembered the whispered words, and her stomach turned. A bet? Was it about money? A dare? Or was it some cruel joke among friends? She didn't know, but the thought that she had been used made her feel nauseous. During the bridal preparations, Emma decided she needed proof. She couldn't confront Daniel without knowing the full truth. Her heart pounded as she remembered the way he had spoken on the phone in the garden. She needed to follow him, to see who he was meeting, what he was hiding. She slipped out of the room under the pretense of checking on the photographer. The hallways were quiet, and the soft clack of her heels echoed as she followed Daniel from a distance. He met a man in a suit by the side entrance, a man she didn't recognize. They shook hands, then Daniel leaned closer, whispering with that same sinister smirk. "She has no idea. The bet is mine. Everything she's done, every dollar, every favor, counted toward winning." Emma's heart skipped. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. She knew she had to record this, capture the evidence before confronting him. Her hands trembled as she fumbled for her phone, recording their conversation in secret. As she walked back, her mind swirled with disbelief. Daniel had planned this? Planned her heartbreak? And yet there he was, walking into the ceremony with the same charming smile that had made her fall for him. How could someone hide such cruelty behind such perfection? Emma returned to her room just as the makeup artist came in to touch up her foundation. She smiled faintly, hiding the storm inside. The ceremony began, and every cheer, every laugh, every tear from friends and family felt like a knife twisting in her chest. How could she pretend to be happy when she knew the truth? By the time Daniel took his place at the altar, Emma's hands were shaking inside her bouquet. She had a decision to make: follow through with the wedding and expose him later, or confront him here, in front of everyone. She knew one thing: she couldn't let him walk away with this, not after everything. Just as the officiant began speaking, Daniel leaned in and whispered, "Relax, everything's going exactly as I planned." And Emma realized. The cruelest part wasn't the bet. It was that he was still smiling while lying to everyone she loved.
Every smile felt like a lie, and every cheer was a countdown to my heartbreak. Emma stood at the end of the aisle, her hands gripping the bouquet tightly. The soft notes of the violin played in the background, a melody that should have felt romantic, but instead made her chest ache. Daniel approached, his tailored suit immaculate, his smile as disarming as ever. Guests whispered compliments, unaware of the storm that had already begun to rage in her heart. Her best friend, Mia, squeezed her hand gently. "You look beautiful," she whispered. Emma nodded, forcing a smile, but her mind was elsewhere. She remembered the recording she had captured, Daniel's confession about the bet, about how every move she had made was just a part of his cruel game. How could she pretend to walk down this aisle as if nothing had happened? The officiant began speaking, and Emma felt the world narrow down to just the two of them.
Every word felt hollow, every vow rehearsed, every promise meaningless because of the truth she now held. Daniel reached for her hand, and for a moment she felt the old familiarity, the man she had loved, but the memory was immediately tainted by betrayal. "Do you, Daniel, take Emma?" The words hung in the air, a ceremonial lie waiting to be spoken. Emma's mind raced. Could she walk away now without causing chaos? Could she expose him here and ruin the wedding? And yet a part of her feared the spectacle, feared the judgment of everyone she loved. Her pulse quickened as Daniel whispered again, "Relax, it's all fine." The words tasted like poison. He wasn't nervous, he wasn't remorseful, he was proud of deceiving her, proud of the manipulation. Emma's hands tightened around the bouquet. She could feel the eyes of the guests on them, the expectation building, the culmination of months of planning, and yet all she felt was rage and hurt. Then a sudden commotion. Mia, noticing Emma's pale face, discreetly nudged her toward the side aisle. "We need to talk," she whispered urgently. Emma nodded slightly, and in a swift, almost imperceptible motion, she stepped aside. Daniel's hand lingered for a moment before retreating. Emma pulled out her phone and played the recording softly, just loud enough for Mia to hear. The evidence was undeniable. Daniel's words about the bet, his pride in having manipulated her, the way he had admitted it without hesitation, it all confirmed what she had feared. Mia's eyes widened. "We have to stop this, now!" Emma took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. She couldn't let this continue, not here, not now, with all the people who had gathered to celebrate what they believed was love. Her legs felt heavy as she stepped back into the aisle, the music continuing as if nothing had happened. But this time, she wasn't walking for the ceremony. She was walking for truth, for justice, for herself. Daniel's eyes met hers, confusion flickering across his face. Emma's voice, usually soft and gentle, rang clear. "Stop! Everyone stop! This wedding is over!" Gasps echoed through the crowd. Daniel's confident smirk faltered, replaced by shock and disbelief. The officiant froze mid-sentence, and whispers erupted among the guests. Emma held up her phone, showing the recording. "This," she said, her voice steady, "is why I cannot marry a man who sees life and me as a game." Daniel's face turned pale, the carefully constructed mask of charm crumbling. Emma realized, with a strange mix of fear and relief, that she had just shattered everything, but she had also found her power.
One recording destroyed a lifetime of lies, and everyone felt the shockwaves. The room was a whirlwind of chaos. Guests whispered, some in disbelief, some in judgment. Flowers scattered, music halted abruptly, and the officiant's eyes darted between Emma and Daniel, unsure how to proceed. Daniel stood frozen, his face pale, his ego shattered in front of everyone. The confident, charming man who had orchestrated months of manipulation was reduced to silence. Emma's heart pounded, not with fear, but with a strange rush of empowerment. She had taken control, and the truth was her weapon. Mia stayed by her side, protective and vigilant, ensuring that no one interfered. "Everyone, please," Emma's voice cut through the murmurs. "This wedding cannot continue because the groom has admitted he never loved me. He placed a bet on my life, my feelings, and my trust, and that I cannot forgive." Gasps echoed, some faces frozen in shock, others with tears. Daniel opened his mouth, ready to fabricate some excuse, but Emma raised her hand. "No words, Daniel. Your actions speak louder than anything you could say now." The guests started moving back slowly, some whispering to each other, others glancing at their phones, likely trying to process what had just happened. The wedding planners looked horrified, realizing months of work had been ruined in moments. Outside, the cold air hit Emma like a relief. She stepped away from the crowd, letting Mia guide her toward a quiet corner of the garden. The city lights twinkled in the distance, indifferent to the drama that had just unfolded. "I can't believe you did that," Mia said, her voice soft but proud. "It was brutal but necessary." Emma nodded. "I couldn't go through with it, not after knowing the truth. And now I can finally breathe." Meanwhile, Daniel had retreated to the edge of the garden, talking on his phone. His words were sharp, defensive, and desperate. He called his friends, trying to spin the situation, trying to save face. But the damage was irreparable. Emma had exposed him, and there was no turning back. The next few days were a media frenzy. Photos and videos of the confrontation surfaced online, spreading quickly across social media platforms. Headlines screamed about the wedding scandal, and Daniel's reputation as a wealthy, charming businessman took a serious hit. Emma, however, stayed calm, avoiding interviews and focusing on her own healing. At home, Emma reflected on everything: the lies, the manipulation, the betrayal. She realized she had been strong all along, but now she understood the full extent of her resilience. She had faced humiliation, heartbreak, and public scrutiny, yet she had not crumbled. Mia visited regularly, bringing coffee and support. "You know," Mia said one afternoon, sitting across from Emma, "you didn't just escape a bad marriage. You taught everyone watching a lesson about self-respect." Emma smiled faintly. "It still hurts. It's not just about him. It's about realizing how blind I was, how easily I let myself trust someone who clearly didn't deserve it." But even amidst the pain, a seed of hope began to grow. Emma knew that life wouldn't stop, that she would rebuild, that love, real love, was still possible. She had survived the storm, and now the world felt like a place she could reclaim. As Emma watched the city lights flicker outside her window, she made a silent promise to herself. Never again would she let someone turn her heart into a game. And little did she know, life had already begun preparing a surprise that would challenge her in ways she never imagined.
A stranger's proposal promised the life of her dreams, but at a cost Emma never expected. 2 weeks had passed since the disastrous wedding. Emma tried to focus on work, on rebuilding her life, but the public attention hadn't faded. Every day she received calls, emails, and messages, some supportive, some invasive. She had become the unwilling center of a scandal that had captured the city's fascination. One rainy evening, while Emma sat in her apartment sipping tea, the doorbell rang. Surprised, she rarely had visitors. She hesitated before opening the door. A man stood there, tall, impeccably dressed, with a faint smile that suggested he was used to getting what he wanted. "Ms. Emma Clark?" he asked, his voice smooth, confident. "I have a proposition for you." Emma frowned. "I don't think I know you." "I know you very well," he said, glancing past her briefly, as if confirming something. "And I know the ordeal you endured. I also know the potential you carry. That's why I'm here." Something about his calm presence made Emma uneasy, yet intrigued. "And what kind of proposition would that be?" she asked cautiously. "I work for a private investment firm, and we are looking for someone with intelligence, creativity, and resilience. You have shown all these qualities under extreme pressure. We want to offer you a position leading a new project that could redefine your career and your life." Emma's brow furrowed. "And the catch?" The man's smile widened. "No catch, if you're willing to take risks." Emma hesitated. Life had taught her that nothing truly valuable came without risk, but the scars of recent events had left her wary. "I don't even know your company. How do I know this isn't some kind of scam? I can provide references, credentials, and even meet your attorney if you prefer. But time is of the essence. We need someone ready to act, someone unafraid to make bold decisions, someone like you. Emma felt her pulse quicken. The idea of starting over, of creating a future on her own terms was tempting. She had spent years being careful, cautious, bending to the expectations of others. But now there was a chance to reclaim control. "All right," she said finally. "I'll hear you out. But understand, I'm not committing to anything yet." "Fair," the man said, handing her a sleek business card. "Meet me tomorrow at the top floor of the Grand Central Tower. Noon. We'll discuss everything." Emma closed the door and leaned against it, heart racing. She felt a mix of excitement and fear. This was an opportunity that could change her life, but it could also be dangerous. The city outside shimmered in the rain, its lights reflecting possibilities she hadn't dared to imagine. That night, she researched the man, his company, and the project he had mentioned. Everything checked out. His reputation was impeccable, his firm renowned for bold ventures and innovative solutions. Emma realized this could be the chance she had been waiting for, a chance to rise above the chaos of the past weeks and prove to herself that she was capable of more than surviving. The next day, dressed sharply and feeling a new sense of determination, Emma entered the Grand Central Tower. The elevator ride felt like a descent into a new world. She had no idea what awaited her on the top floor. When the doors opened, she was greeted by a panoramic view of the city skyline. The man was waiting, seated behind the glass desk. "Welcome, Ms. Emma Clark," he said warmly. "Are you ready to take control of your future?" "I think I am." He stood and handed her a folder. "Inside, you'll find the details of the project. Take it home, study it, and decide if you're willing to take the leap. This is not just a job, it's a chance to shape the course of your life." Emma opened the folder and scanned the documents. Her eyes widened. The project was ambitious, high stakes, and required intelligence, strategy, and courage, all things she had developed during the most difficult weeks of her life. Emma looked out at the city below, the folder heavy in her hands, and realized that her life was about to change forever. But would she rise to the challenge, or would the risks of this stranger's offer pull her into a new kind of danger she wasn't ready for?
One decision could make her a queen, or destroy everything she had left. The next morning, Emma woke with a restless energy. The folder from the stranger sat on her desk, unopened for hours as she sipped her coffee, staring out the window at the bustling city. She knew this was more than a job offer. It was a test of courage, intelligence, and resilience. Her mind replayed the horrors of the wedding week, the betrayal, the humiliation, and the suffocating media scrutiny. And now, this mysterious opportunity dangled before her like a lifeline. Finally, she opened the folder. Inside, she found detailed plans for a high-stakes investment project involving real estate, technology integration, and strategic corporate partnerships. The potential was enormous, financially, professionally, and personally. But the stakes were equally high. One misstep could ruin her reputation, cost her millions, and even attract dangerous attention. Emma spent the day poring over the documents, her heart alternating between excitement and fear. She realized that her life, once predictable and controlled, had become a chessboard of risks and opportunities. Every move she made now would define her future. By evening, she made her decision.
Emma would accept the challenge, but on her own terms. She called the stranger, confirming her intent to proceed. "I'll do it," she said, her voice firm. "But I need guarantees, and I'm not doing anything reckless." The man's voice was smooth and approving. "Very wise. You'll find that in this world, courage and caution must coexist. Meet me tomorrow. We start immediately." The following day, Emma entered the skyscraper with a sense of purpose. The man greeted her with a nod. "Today marks the beginning. We'll assemble your team, set your goals, and initiate the project." Over the next few weeks, Emma threw herself into the work. She assembled a team of experts, analysts, strategists, and legal advisors. Her days became a blur of meetings, negotiations, and calculations. She discovered talents within herself she hadn't known existed: a knack for strategy, a sharp instinct for human behavior, and an uncanny ability to stay calm under pressure. But as her success grew, so did the shadows around her. Competitors began to notice her rapid progress. Rumors spread, attempts to discredit her surfaced, and she realized that her every move was being watched. It wasn't just business she was playing, it was a game of power, manipulation, and survival. One evening, while reviewing contracts late at night, Emma received a mysterious email. The message was simple, chilling. "Some secrets are better left buried. Stop now or regret it forever." Her heart raced. Someone was trying to intimidate her, someone who knew more about her than she realized. Her first instinct was fear, but then determination surged. She had survived betrayal once, she could survive this too. She refused to back down. Emma stared at the dark city lights through her office window. She had crossed the line from ordinary life into a dangerous new world. And now someone or something was waiting for her to falter. The question was, would she survive the game she had just begun, or would it consume her completely?
She thought the past was behind her, but it had been quietly waiting, ready to strike. The morning sun barely pierced through the tinted windows of Emma's office. The city below seemed calm, ordinary, unaware of the storm brewing above. Emma, however, could feel it. The mysterious warning from the previous night had unsettled her, and for the first time since the project began, doubt crept into her mind. She stared at the email again. Whoever sent it clearly knew her history, knew the moments she had worked to bury, the wedding fiasco, the betrayal, the humiliation. For a long moment, Emma considered giving up, deleting the email, and pretending the stranger's project had never existed. But she couldn't. Something in her whispered that this was her chance, her redemption. By mid-morning, Emma's assistant buzzed in with a message. "Miss Stanton, someone's here to see you. Claims it's urgent." Before she could respond, a man in a tailored suit stepped into her office. His eyes were cold but calculating, and there was something familiar about the curve of his jaw, the sharpness in his gaze. Emma's heart skipped. She knew him, but how? "Do I know you?" Emma asked cautiously. The man smiled thinly. "You may not remember me, but I've been keeping tabs on you for a long time. Call me Victor." Emma's mind raced. Victor. The name rang a bell from the darkest days of her past. A business partner of her father who had mysteriously vanished after her father's downfall. He had been ruthless, cunning, and somehow undeniably connected to the betrayal she endured at her own wedding. "What do you want?" Emma asked, standing. Her voice, though steady, betrayed a hint of fear. "I'm here to offer guidance and a warning,"
Victor replied smoothly, his gaze piercing. "The project you've been dragged into isn't just about money or power. It's about uncovering truths that some people would kill to protect. And Emma," he leaned closer, lowering his voice, "they are already watching you more closely than you realize." Emma's pulse quickened. Everything about her current life, the project, the mysterious stranger, the threats, were connected to the past she had tried to forget. "Why are you helping me?" she demanded. Victor's smile faded, replaced by a shadow of sorrow. "Because I once made mistakes. I once underestimated those who seemed powerless, and I see the same potential in you, and the same danger. You have to be smarter than them, Emma. Smarter than anyone who thinks they can control your destiny." For the next few hours, Victor revealed pieces of her father's old business empire, secrets about hidden investments, and warnings about rival power players still lurking in the shadows. Every revelation made Emma's head spin, but she also felt a strange surge of empowerment. She wasn't just a pawn anymore. She was becoming a player. Victor handed her a small, encrypted drive. "This contains information you need. Some of it will shock you, some of it will anger you, and some of it will terrify you. Use it wisely. And remember, trust no one, not even the stranger who brought you into this world of power." As Victor walked out, leaving Emma alone with the drive and the weight of the revelations, she realized one terrifying truth. The shadows of her past weren't behind her. They were inside her, guiding her every move and waiting for the moment she slipped. If she failed now, everything she had built would crumble, and the world that had humiliated her once would do so again, permanently.
Just when she thought she had the upper hand, Emma discovered that the person closest to her had been playing her all along. Emma sat in her apartment, the encrypted drive humming softly on the desk before her. She had spent the last few hours decoding its contents, revealing layers of corruption, secret deals, and hidden agendas connected to her father's old empire. Every file she opened felt like a piece of a puzzle finally coming together, but there was one file that made her pause. It was a folder labeled simply, "Trust No One." Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside were emails, photos, and recordings, proof that someone very close to her had been feeding information to her rivals, carefully manipulating events to keep her off balance. Emma's heart sank. The person she trusted most in the current project, someone who had acted as her guide and confidant, had been betraying her every step of the way. Her mind raced as she recalled the subtle hints, the way certain documents seemed to vanish from her desk, the suspicious questions her assistant asked, the cryptic warnings that always seemed too late. All the pieces suddenly clicked into place. This was no coincidence. She had been set up from the beginning. Determined to confront the traitor, Emma gathered all the evidence and arranged a meeting in a neutral, public location, a small cafe downtown where no one could ambush her. When the traitor arrived, smiling politely as always, Emma kept her expression calm, belying the storm inside her. "You wanted to see me?" the traitor asked innocently, sipping coffee. "Yes," Emma replied, her voice steady. "Sit down. I think it's time we had a serious talk." The traitor's smile faltered slightly, but not enough to reveal panic. Emma opened her laptop and displayed the emails, recordings, and photos. The evidence was undeniable. The cafe seemed to disappear around them, leaving just the two of them in a charged silence. "I trusted you," Emma said, her voice low but cutting. "You were supposed to help me reclaim what was stolen from my family, not sell me out to those who wanted to destroy me." The traitor's face hardened. "I did what I had to do to survive.
You think you could handle this world alone? It's ruthless. People die for less." Emma leaned forward, her eyes blazing. "I don't need protection from betrayal disguised as loyalty. You've underestimated me, and now everyone you've manipulated will pay for underestimating me too." With that, Emma shut the laptop and left the cafe, leaving the traitor frozen with fear and realization. The betrayal was painful, but it ignited a fire within her, a resolve stronger than any fear. She would take back control, piece by piece, using the knowledge from the drive, the mistakes of her enemies, and the ruthlessness that she had once despised. As Emma walked away from the cafe, her mind raced with plans. The world that had humiliated her, betrayed her, and underestimated her was about to face a reckoning. But what she didn't yet realize was that even as she prepared to strike back, a deeper, more dangerous betrayal waited, one that would make everything she had faced so far seem trivial. The true enemy was still in the shadows, and the next move could either secure her victory or destroy her completely.
The truth hit harder than any betrayal before. This wasn't just about power or money. It was personal. Emma spent the next few days meticulously planning. Every contact, every ally, every piece of information she had gathered was carefully organized. The betrayal she had uncovered in Chapter 8 was only a stepping stone. The real enemy was still hidden, manipulating events from the shadows. The night was stormy as Emma drove to the abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the massive structure and casting eerie shadows through the broken windows. Inside, she knew, her ultimate adversary awaited, thinking they were untouchable, confident that Emma was still a pawn. As she stepped into the warehouse, the sound of her heels echoed across the empty space. From the shadows, a figure emerged, tall, composed, and with a chilling calmness that made Emma's stomach knot. It was Victor, Hale, the man who had orchestrated the downfall of her father's company and manipulated everyone around her for his gain. "So, the little girl thinks she's finally ready to play the big game," Victor said, his voice dripping with mockery. "Do you really think you can take me down?" Emma's eyes blazed. "I don't think, Victor. I know. I've learned every move you've made, every secret you've hidden, and every weakness you've tried to conceal. Tonight, it ends." Victor laughed, a dark, echoing sound that seemed to shake the walls. "You're alone. Your allies have fallen. Your reputation is tarnished, and your plans are nothing but desperate guesses. What makes you think you can beat me?" Emma smiled faintly, pulling out a USB drive from her clutch. "Because you forgot one thing. I don't play by your rules." She plugged the drive into a nearby laptop, and immediately, confidential files and recordings flooded the screen. Proof of Victor's illegal dealings, his manipulation of board members, and the betrayals that had allowed him to rise. Victor's confident expression faltered as he realized Emma had everything. "How?" he stammered. "I didn't get here by chance. Every betrayal you sent my way, every obstacle you placed in my path, I used them to learn. I used them to strengthen myself. And now the world knows the truth." Victor lunged, desperate to grab the laptop, but Emma was ready. With calculated precision, she activated a remote upload, sending every file to regulatory authorities, media outlets, and every rival in Victor's network. Within minutes, the entire web of deception he had built began to unravel. Victor's face turned red with anger, then pale with fear. "You'll regret this," he hissed. Emma stepped closer, her voice cold and steady. "The only thing I'll regret is ever trusting someone like you. But now I trust no one, and I act accordingly." The authorities arrived minutes later, alerted by the automatic notifications Emma had triggered. Victor was taken into custody, his empire crumbling around him, and Emma watched, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and relief. The final confrontation wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming her power, her identity, and her family's legacy. As Emma stood outside the warehouse, rain washing away the remnants of the storm, she realized something profound. Victory wasn't just about defeating the enemy. It was about emerging stronger, smarter, and unapologetically herself. But even in that triumph, a small voice whispered that in a world full of shadows, trust would always be a dangerous gamble. And yet, she was ready for it.